Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sky Webb and I'm here to talk about a true crime story that I cannot get off my mind. But before I get started, I just want to put out a little disclaimer that I mean no harm to any of the victims or the victims' families, and I wish everyone who was hurt within this story the utmost peace and solace, either in rest or in recovery. With that out of the way, happy True Crime Thursday. Welcome back to the channel, or just welcome if you've never been here before. If you are just lurking, please hit subscribe because, I don't know, it's good luck. Today we've got a very interesting case to look into. We're looking into the weird case of Abraham Shakespeare, the man who was killed over a lottery ticket. Abraham Shakespeare was born on the 24th of April 1966 and he lived in Lakeland, Florida. He worked as a casual laborer, so he would kind of pick up odd jobs where he could and, you know, do what he could to do to make money. So one of those jobs was working as a trucker's assistant, so he would go back and forth with the trucks and do that kind of stuff. And then he had another job as a barber's assistant, and he actually became really good friends with the barber, the owner of the shop, and yeah, they got along really, really well. He was known to be quite a reliable worker. He was a very hard worker, and because he had all these different jobs, obviously he had quite a number of different skills, and he was just like on the ball with that kind of stuff. So when he didn't show up to work at this barbershop for a couple of days, the guy was like, what the fuck is going on? So he calls him up and he's like, dude, what's the go? What's happening? And Abraham says, I won the lotto. I won big. He won the jackpot. $17 million. That's a lot of dollars. And he decided to take that all out in one lump sum. $17 million instead of getting yearly installments like the lotto people let you do, which would be much smarter, safer, definitely, in my opinion. But $17 million in one lump sum. Holy shit. So Abraham tells his boss, and then they go to meet up, and he pulls up in a brand new car. He'd already bought an Altima or something like that, and a Corvette. He'd bought these cars. He was gonna go buy a house. He was so excited to tell his boss, and he just rolled up like, I told you I won big. And the boss literally didn't believe it until he saw the cars, and then he was like, whoa, this dude's not even fucking lying. Like, holy shit, like that's a lot of money. You gotta be pretty lucky to win that shit. So Abraham immediately bought a new house in a much nicer, safer area. He moved into a gated community, which obviously promotes a lot more safety, a lot more privacy. And he moved into a $1 million house. And he was so much happier here. It was nearby to where he lived, so it wasn't like he moved away. He was still close to home, you know what I mean? He knew the community and where everything was, but it was just safer, cleaner, nicer, less like shitty stuff, I guess. Like, it's a gated community. It's a $1 million home. Like, he was very happy in his new house. And then comes along his co-worker, the guy that he works with for the trucks and that. And he was actually there when the lotto ticket was purchased. So now he wants to split the money. So when the lottery ticket was actually purchased, they had been working and they stopped at this petrol station, a service station, to go and get some drinks and some snacks before they continue their drive wherever they were going. And so his co-worker got out of the car and went to go inside, and he's like, what drinks do you want? And he was like, nah, I won't get any drinks, just grab me two just grab me two lottery tickets. So he had $5 on him, and he gave his co-worker $2 to go buy 2 tickets. And that's what happened. Now his co-worker, who had actually like physically gone in and got the ticket for him, had come back and been like, let's split the money. And Abraham obviously said no. So then he said, all right, well, I want at least 1 million. Like, I was there with you, it's good spirited, I'm the one who went and got it for you. If I didn't get it for you, you probably wouldn't have bothered to get out to go get it. Like, I got the winning ticket, I want $1 million. And Abe was like, fuck no. So because Abe said no, this little fucker tried to sue him, which, like, I know it's a lot of money, like, it is a lot of money, but no one's gonna give you $1 million, dude. So when he went to court to sue poor Abe and try and get the money that he wanted, he said that he purchased the ticket with his money. He had bought it with his money from his own choice, his own thought to go and buy one. And the ticket had been stolen out of his wallet by Abe. And the jury thought that that was bullshit, so they didn't give a fuck that this guy didn't get a split of the money. And Abe got to keep it all. But I just thought I should add that in there because, wow. Be careful who buys your lotto tickets. So, as I said, Abe had bought a $1 million house and he had bought his 2 cars, but his next purchases were completely, purely to help other people. He was not a selfish man by any means. Especially when it came to money, he was very generous with his money, probably because that's something that he's never really had before. So the absence of it is probably different in his mind than it would be in a lot of other people's minds, and he knows what it's like to struggle, so he wanted to help. He was a very empathetic man, so he tended to help people quite a lot. So his boss, whose name was Greg, by the way, the barber Greg, so he had just applied for a $63,000 loan because his mum was having some health issues and then had some financial issues and was going to potentially lose her house. So Abe immediately went out and wrote a check of $63,000 to give to Greg so that he wouldn't have to, take the loan out from the bank, which was hard. You had to do different things to apply for it, obviously. And so this is something that I find quite sad about this story, is that Abe wasn't very literate. He couldn't read and he couldn't write. So a lot of his sort of paperwork type of area, not his forte, you know what I mean? Financial situations, not necessarily his forte. He wasn't very financially literate. I think even the fact that he took 17 million in one lump sum probably goes to show that he wasn't, the smartest when it came to finances, because otherwise a yearly installment would be pretty good. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But none of that was done out of greediness. It was just done out of not really knowing any better, and he wanted to help. So he wanted to help all these people. And so Greg said, look, if you're going to be this generous and give me that much money, I want to do it legitimately. I'm going to write up a contract. I'll get a lawyer, I'll get it done, properly, and I can pay you back the same way I was going to pay the bank back. It just means it's done, sort of on the down low, so it's still helping him. And that was probably one of Abe's only true friends at that point who didn't just want to take advantage of his winnings, of his money. Because for the rest of Abe's friends, I can't say they had as much decency with these payment plans that they would try and set up with him. A lot of them would just borrow money straight off the bat and never return it, or they would pretend it was a loan and get quite a big sum and then, just be a little bit shitty about ever paying it back. So this was really the one instance where someone didn't fuck him over. A couple of months after winning all the money, Abe actually met a woman called Dee Dee, and he had a massive crush on Dee Dee. She seemed to have her shit together. She had a relatively good job. She was relatively successful, and she was very kind to Abe at first, and very helpful. She was very good with finances. Something I mentioned was not his strong suit. She was good with the organization of finances. So she would promise to help him with his money and manage his money so that he didn't have that burden on him, because it was quite stressful for him. He didn't really understand anything that he was doing. It was really large numbers, obviously, with $17 million there, and it got very muddled for him. So to have a friend that's so kind and so nice and welcoming and warming and happy to help him was amazing to him. She also told Abe that she wanted to write a book about him because she thought that his story was very interesting. She wanted to write a book about him winning the lottery, winning all this money, and then about all the people that had come to ask him to borrow money, and about all these loans that he was giving out, because at this point he had spent over $500,000 on other people that hadn't been paid back. So she would come over with a little camera and she would film him and she would interview him and ask him like interview type questions. And he really truly believed that she was writing this book, but there was no book to be seen. There was no progress as far as anyone else could see. The only thing she did that she said she was gonna do was manage his money. But she didn't manage his money in his favor, she managed his money in her favor. In fact, she managed it so well that she was able to get his $1 million home in her name. Sorry, what? She was also the one who was in charge of following up all the people that had taken loans out from Abe. So she had the ability to say this, and this person have paid it back. And Abe wouldn't know whether or not that was true because he had no control or understanding of his finances. So she would keep the money. She would also take a substantial amount of money out of Abe's pocket to put into her own business and her own life, essentially. So yeah, she kind of helped herself whenever the fuck she felt like it. At this point, Abe had no idea what was going on and he didn't really want to know. And I'm not talking about Dee Dee, I'm talking about the money. He was sick of it. He was sick of people asking. He was sick of the negativity surrounding it. He was sick of being looked at differently and people treating him differently. And he was sick of hearing all the horrible fucking stories because, and this is true, if someone has a substantial amount of money just given to them all at once, you will get a significant amount of charities who call you up and be like, please donate to us, please donate to us. Or you'll get mothers with sick kids who are like, please, we need to pay the hospital bills. Like, it's a lot to deal with if your phone is constantly ringing for people to ask for money, not just for like, I want to buy a car, I'm greedy, but like, my child is dying and we need to save her. Like, for an empathetic person like Abe, that shit was too much. He couldn't do it and he was just over it. He was over the money. He just wanted to move. That's all he wanted to do. Sell the house and move, get out of town, start fresh with Dee Dee. He still trusted Dee Dee at this point. He loved Dee Dee at this point, which is so sad. He became really, really isolated and he told everyone, he let everyone know, like, I would have rather lived as a broke man. I was happier as a broke man. And after that, he just went very, very isolated and he stayed home a lot and he stayed with Dee Dee and he didn't really see or speak to anyone for a little bit of time. But when his friends and family hadn't heard from him in over 2 weeks, they started to get a little bit worried. So his cousin actually called the police and reported him missing. So the police were pretty much immediately suspicious due to the fact that he had just won so much money. It definitely throws a wrench in things. That's a whole different kind of ball game to just if any other person went missing. And they were instantly suspicious of Dee Dee and her story because she said that he had just gone out of town to take a breather because he was sick of the drama, he was sick of the money, he was sick of the people. He wanted to move, they're gonna move soon, and she reckons he just he needed a timeout essentially. But no one believed her. His friends didn't believe her, his family didn't believe her, and the police didn't believe her story either. And at this point, the police, they suspected that he was either kidnapped or dead. And they weren't sure what Dee Dee had to do with it, but they were pretty sure that Dee Dee had something to do with it. And Dee Dee knew this. She also knew that the entire community was pointing their fingers at her. So she was getting a little bit desperate and she went to visit Greg, which was the barber, which was Abe's boss. My hair progressively keeps getting worse. It's fine, totally fine. So Dee Dee is crying, she's whinging, she's sucking, she's sobbing, she's like, I didn't do anything, I'm gonna get in trouble, I just need more time, everyone's blaming me, why are they blaming me, I didn't even do anything, like, I just need more time, he's gonna come back, I promise he's gonna come back. And Greg's like, yeah, whatever, like, just, you know, don't really give a fuck. Whatever you say, Dee Dee, whatever. and she offers him $300 if he helps her buy more time. And he's like, well, what do you mean? What do you want me to do? And she's like, well, can you call Abe's mum and pretend to be him and just tell her that you're fine, everything's fine, like nothing's wrong, I just need more time, I know he's gonna come back, I just don't want to get in trouble for something that I didn't do, like, you just gotta do it. And disgustingly, Greg said yes. For $300. For $300, you're gonna throw your friend under the bus? You were the good friend, dude. You were the good one. And now you're not. You're in the bad books. Fuck you, Greg. Fuck you. So Dee Dee takes Abe's mum out to dinner. This is how elaborate this little scheme was. And it makes me sad because I just, oh, poor Abe's mum, like, ooh. She purposely takes her out somewhere where it's busy, where it's loud, where she won't be able to hear well, and she has Greg call her. It's honestly so sad, like it's actually heartbreaking, and he says to her, hey mum, like it's Abe, I'm fine, tell the police I'm fine, like I'll be back soon, don't even sweat it, don't worry. And oh, it kills me. She's like, it makes me so mad. She's like, okay baby. She's like, okay baby, when are you gonna be home? And he's like, soon, I'll be home soon. Like, how can you do that to someone's mom, dude? How can you do that? Can you imagine your son's missing and you get a phone call from them saying that they're fine, and you're like, the flood of like relief that you would have to then shortly after realize that that was completely bullshit and fake hope. Can you imagine that feeling of you think your son's fine and then you get like, oh bro. But in Greg's defense, he says that at this point he genuinely believed Dee Dee. He didn't think that Dee Dee did anything. I don't think he cared enough about Dee Dee to think that she did anything, if that makes sense. I don't think he listened much when she spoke because she was annoying. He thought at this point that Abe was actually sick of Dee Dee and had just had enough of her, and that's why he was out of town, because he literally just didn't want to deal with this bitch, because Greg didn't want to even deal with this bitch. And he thought that the reason she was so desperate to like buy more time was because she knew that she was the reason that he wouldn't come back, because she was annoying. So Greg keeps texting Abe and he's like, where are you? When are you coming home? Dee Dee did this, Dee Dee did that. Dude, what are you doing? Like, just keeps texting him. Doesn't get any response. Until he gets a text that says, I'll call you in a little while. And he's like, what the fuck? He just went MIA for however long, over 2 weeks. No replies to anyone, but he's gonna text me, I'll call you in a little while. This is Abe that we're talking about. He can't read. He can't write. If he texts, it's like letters. It's not words. It's not, I'll call you in a little while. That's not Abe. So now Greg knew that something was 100% going on with his friend. And then the next time he encounters the detectives, the police people on the case, they actually ask him to be an informant. And he's like, what the fuck? So they had actually seen him or heard about him or somehow knew about him accepting the $300 from Dee Dee and knew that that had gone down. So they originally thought that he had something to do with it, but during their investigation they'd been going through text messages and bank statements, financial statements, all of that kind of stuff, and they could see some of the shady shit that Dee Dee was up to. So they were pretty sure at this point that like he had nothing to do with it and it was Dee Dee, and then he confirmed as much when he got questioned next. And they wanted Greg to essentially go undercover, talk to Dee Dee, record her, film her, wear a wire, whatever, and get something that they could use to actually take her down for it, because at this point they knew it but they couldn't prove it. So Greg and the detectives, they had different opinions on what the best approach towards Dee Dee would be, and at first they didn't have a lot of luck because they were following the detectives' plan. And there was one instance where Dee Dee jumped into his car and immediately started like feeling him up, touching him up to see if he was wearing a wire. So, which he was. Wasn't a great idea, He basically just flipped it around on her and was like, well, if you don't fucking trust me, get the fuck out of my car. Why are you in my car if you don't trust? Like, literally had to twist it onto her to not get caught. And then he went back to the police and he was like, look, you might think you know what you're doing. This isn't working. I know how to do this shit. I've lived in this area my whole life. I know these kind of people. I know what to fucking do. Like, let me have a go. And the cops are like, all right, fucking go for it. If you got a plan, shoot. So Greg, he cuts open the top of a Red Bull. Good choice, by the way, Red Bull. And he puts the wire that you're supposed to wear to pick up the audio into some styrofoam and then puts it inside the Red Bull can. Not a cup, it's a can. And then he puts the lid back on. I'm not entirely sure how he did it, but he made it look very like legit. It looked like it was just a Red Bull can. And his story, like, he was a smoker, so he would smoke in the car while they were talking and he'd use that as like an ashtray. Or he'd have two of them there and like her mind would click that one of them, like, they were ashtrays. So now this way, if she was to come trying to fill him up and see if there was a wire, he'd be like, bro, no, nothing. And she's never gonna suspect a Red Bull can. So she starts talking about Abe and she starts saying that she thinks someone killed him. And she thinks that this guy's name is Ronald. And she thinks Ronald came and killed him because he's a drug dealer and really scary. And Ronald came and threatened her and threatened her kid. And like, it was definitely Ronald. Definitely. So this Ronald guy, he was obviously fake. He did not exist and the police already knew that he did not exist. So what they took from this conversation was essentially she wants to pass the blame onto somebody else. Let's give her someone to pass the blame onto. So they get Greg to introduce her to an undercover cop. Obviously she didn't know that they were an undercover cop. And he was pretending to be someone who was about to go away to prison for quite a long sentence. And he offered to take the blame for the murder in exchange for like an amount of money that would be paid to him through like commissary or through his family or whatever, so that he would live like a comfortable life in prison. So Didi agrees and he says, all right, I want 50 grand for this. And she says, yeah, all right, mad deal, but I need to pay it in a payment plan because I don't have that much money. And he says, all right, fine, 10 grand up front to me and then the rest can be paid to my family while I'm inside and they'll obviously transfer it onto him when he needs. So she says yes. She agrees to pay him $50,000 to take the blame for Abraham's murder. And then Greg, he convinces Didi that she needs to give this undercover cop, hitman guy, some kind of evidence from the murder so that, you know, when he comes forward and says like, I'm the one who did this, killed this man that I don't even know, he would look like actually guilty, like, because otherwise there's no connection, you know what I mean? So Greg does a really good job of convincing her and he says, look, you're gonna have to bring the murder weapon. Like, that's the only thing that can tie him to this 100%. Like, that'll go down, you'll be safe, like whatever. You're gonna have to give him the murder weapon. So Didi brought the murder weapon. She brought them her gun that she shot Abraham with. And then on top of that, she shows them where his body is. So they had everything that they needed, and the very next day they go to the area where she says that Abraham's body was buried, and they start sort of excavating the site to try and find the body. So what they had done, so where they were excavating or whatever it's called, was actually underneath a huge concrete slab. So Greg had said to her, like, go put something on this spot and I'll know that that's the spot where the body is, and then like the guy will go tell, like whatever. So she had actually pinpointed exactly where the body was underneath this concrete slab. And 9 months after going missing, they finally found Abraham Shakespeare's body. Abe had been shot twice in his abdomen region, and then Didi and her ex-husband had come to this area to bury him. The ex-husband like dug up this big hole, buried Abe, and then they actually hired a concreter to go over it and put down a concrete slab. and they fed him, I don't know, some story about, I think it was something about a boat shed or something, I don't know. But even though she was caught now, and like caught, like you had the murder weapon, you knew where the body was, like you're caught, you're done, you're over, she still kept making up wild stories about other people. Like she's like, Ronald did it, Ronald did it, Ronald, it was him, it was Ronald. And then she blamed her 14-year-old son. Like what? So Dee Dee was charged with first-degree murder and she was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. Thank God. I don't know why this story bothers me more than other stories do. I feel like I say that a lot, to be fair, but this one gets on my nerves because I feel bad for Abe. Like, poor guy, he was just fucking trying to get by, for God's sake, like fuck. I just wish that he had known not to trust Dee Dee and had known to be a little bit more like switched on and aware of things, but unfortunately not. And still to this day, Dee Dee has the audacity to say that she had nothing to do with the murder, which I don't personally believe, if you can't already tell. But let me know what you think about this story. I would love to know what you think. Do you think that Dee Dee is innocent somehow? Do you think it was Ronald? Do you believe in Ronald? Or do you think that Dee Dee and her ex-husband just did it because they wanted the money? You decide. Also, what do you think about Abe? Do you feel as bad for him as I do? And the million-dollar question, if you were given $17 million, what would you do with it? What would you do? Because he only bought one house and 2 cars and the rest was given to other people out of 17 million. Let me know in the comments down below, or you can head over to my Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, which is all linked in the description down below. I would love to hear your opinions on this case because I really like this case. This case, and even the pizza bomber case, doesn't get a lot of attention, but I really like it. So like, go drop comments on that case, please. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you feel like it. I would really appreciate it. And be sure to subscribe so that you can see all my new videos. I post every single Thursday, all about true crime. And I would love to have you be a part of it. Make sure you guys are being safe out there. Always buy your own lottery tickets. Don't trust anyone. And most importantly, watch out for gold diggers. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe. Bye.